Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Namita, for that introduction. So, this is the session for living independently in the community. And I think after the UN CRPD, there's been a lot of discussion and talk about what independence is and about how do people with disabilities actually exercise a choice of where they can live, with whom they can live, how they can live. So, when I was at the National Trust, this was a main question actually. The National Trust Act actually is an act for living independently. Because after the 1995 Act for People with Disabilities was enacted, it was the developmental disabilities, people with cerebral palsy, intellectual disability, autism, multiple disabilities. It was the families of people with developmental disabilities that they said the 1995 Act actually doesn't help us enough, and we need some more support systems. So that's how the National Trust Act was thought about. One of the main questions was what happens when I'm no more, for the parents' question. The families wanting to know. As the families get diminished and become smaller in size, then what the person with disability, how is that person supported? So, at the National Trust, we have about registered organizations, NGOs, parents' associations, and every parents' association that came there were about 250 of them, was dreaming of only setting up a kind of an institution, small mini institution, for their 35 parents in that association or 40 parents for their children to live in after they are no more. But so what was very scary about this was that one could just envisage millions of mini institutions getting set up, very top down. And actually that was not compliant to the UN Convention or to our understanding of let's create systems in the community where people have choices and people can choose and decide where and how to live. So that's this project called Bliss, Begin to Live Interdependently with Support Systems, is just a small attempt really at a micro level in Chennai to see how we can create these support systems and how we can take this further so that we live by, when we say self-determination, when we say autonomy of choices, when we talk about people of disabilities also being participating and being in the community, then I think it's important for us to start thinking differently. And I also want to state before I go on to Bliss is that in every state government, every secretary of social welfare I met at the National Trust, because all the state government secretaries would come there, everybody would come up and tell me, ma'am, we are going to set up a home for 200 children with mental retardation. We are going to set up a home for 400 children. And my heart would just sink. And that is why I've been, trying to think of how do we overcome this of creating more institutions. We want to de-institutionalize. We want to close down institutions. We want people in the community. But somehow we are getting into that pattern. And so Bliss is a kind of a action-based research, if you like. And so we thought of Bliss this is Vidya Sagar is working on this project, and we thought that Bliss is begin to live interdependently with support systems. First of all, just to get to the concept of interdependence, because parents, especially people with developmental disabilities, just say no, it's not possible. They cannot live independently. So they understand independent in a very patriarchal sense, that you've got to be really strong and be able to do everything by yourself and things like that. While when we talk about independence, we're actually talking about a way of life. We're talking about interdependence. Because we're talking about all of us, the way we live. We all live, we all dependent on many support systems around us. And that's what we need to create for people with disabilities. So that's when we started thinking of what are the pillars that are already there and what are the pillars which we need to strengthen, and what are the pillars that we need to set up and work on. Those were the areas we started thinking about. So, of course, everybody, the moment we talk about adults, the first thing is employment. So, there's a lot of discussion on employment, and I'm sure we're going to talk more at the panel and things like that. And uh, whether you talk about employment, whether you talk about any of the other pillars, what really comes back and back and back is accessibility. Most of people with disabilities are not able to access a job because of lack of transport, because the workplace is not accessible, because access has become somehow one of the major issues. And therefore, I suppose it's very appropriate here at this conference of assistive technology to talk about living independently in the community. So well, at Bliss, we haven't really, worked on all the 9 pillars right away, but we have worked on some of them. But what I want to really zoom into is, we have the employment pillar where we are hoping, of course, to, work more with people are getting jobs. It's great news. A lot of corporate sectors are employing them, things like that. But when it comes to some of the more marginalized disabilities, we are still quite stuck. We're stuck in a bad way, and many people may get a job but may not be able to retain it. There's the whole issue of uh, how do I get to work? How do I get back? Where is the accessible transport? Even if the metro is accessible, can I, how do I reach the metro station? The last mile is not thought of. So we need to look at some kind of support in transport systems for employment also to become a success. But the other is many of people with disabilities, especially people with developmental disabilities, do not get paid the same amount as other people, or may be, kind of getting an honorarium or a stipend for a long, long time. So when we're talking about our rights as adults with disabilities, we have to talk about equal wage and equal pay, and the accommodations at the workplace for people to really be able to do whatever task that they have to together with everybody else, and in an effective way. So the other pillars of bliss, like maintenance therapy, is another area which is really for wheelchair users or people using assistive devices. Long-term wheelchair users need all kinds of supports which we haven't even thought about in this country. And when we did assessments of some of our own alumni at Vidya Sagar, we found that really there were so many areas where which had got neglected. The feet, for the first, their knees, and so the body really needed more support, and that's not happening as far as even these private sector therapy clinics are concerned. Especially, let me tell you, I've worked with cerebral palsy, and young people, people with cerebral palsy or long-term wheelchair users don't get appropriate therapy. So, but that's just one example. We can, if we go disability-wise, everybody will need some kind of support as far as the medical intervention is concerned. Then there's the workforce development. Workforce, I somehow feel, as far as the disabilities, the Rehab Council of India has looked at many courses for children and special educators. Everybody's trained to work with children, and they're always talking about their children. But for adults, the support systems, the personal attendant, the caregiver, the support worker, the job coach, the independent travel trainer, somebody to support you if you're going to live together in a group home. There's none of that exists. No facilitators. Nobody can really give you that support if you five people with disabilities or 4 people decide to share a home. And can we get somebody to help us make our budget, our plan, our transport plan, whatever? There is no facilitator at all. So these are the things. These are these kind of uh, different professionals that Bliss wants to work on. And at the moment, we are working on caregivers or support workers, personal attendants. We're doing a training for caregivers, and we wanted to have the government certification. And when we went to NIPMED to ask for it, of course, there's no funding for it, so you have to find your own funds. But we were the only ones doing that training. That course is not being taken on by anybody else in this country, the RCI course in caregivers. But I think you need lots of personal attendants and caregivers, and I think more people should just do it's a 3 month course. We take 4 months because we think more, you need to do many more things which are not in the syllabi really. So many support. First aid, for example, is not in the syllabi. There are some medical aspects in the syllabi, but not enough. Bed sores are there, but not. I don't think they're done adequately. So various things which we want to add on to that. Besides, of course, also the UN Convention's understanding of disability has to be put in that course. So we've made it a 4 month course, and I would really urge people to do. Caregivers need to be trained across this country. I feel our personal attendants, so that people with disabilities can get that support to move forward. But let me go on to the reason. We have a pillar called reasonable accommodation. And that pillar actually is what I would like to talk about because it's about accessibility. And we divided it into three parts. We have a group which we have named as TARA, Team for Accessibility and Reasonable Accommodation. And they are basically, we wanted to make personal spaces accessible. Homes. Everybody access audits are for public spaces. What about people's homes? What about people's workplaces? We need more people out there to educate architects and designers and interior designers to understand that what is the accessibility in a home? What does an accessible kitchen look like? What does an accessible bathroom or a bedroom? What are the features needed? And so universal design is what we were looking at. So this TARA, we also have Get Going is our supported transport that we tried with. It's not scalable really. We need to look for more scalable uh, projects. But in Chennai, like in other Bangalore and Bombay, you do have supported accessible transport available for wheelchair users especially, and so that is provided by Vidya Sagar in this project called Get Going. And then we also wanted to create a demonstration center where assistive technology would be demonstrated so that people, and we could do a database of all that is available in our country and also the vendor lists. And so we were lucky that the government of Tamil Nadu had similar plans and we could do it together. And some of you visited the Museum of Possibilities yesterday. So that's really part of our independent living plan, really. So, uh, and in Bliss, we would like to also look at leisure, workplaces, peer counselors, and we want to start with working with individuals, adults. What we like to do is basically uh, help them to plan what they want to do. This actually is it's a kind of called path. It's planning alternatives for tomorrow with hope. It's a system that we've adopted because it's helped many of our students. In Bliss, the alumni, the first point when they come is we help them with a path where they think about what is it that they want to do as in their 40, 50 years of adult life. Actually, special schools leave you without a plan, without thinking how are you going to spend those 50 years. What is it that you would like to do? What is it that gives you that joy and happiness and feeling of fulfillment? I mean, if that is missing, then I don't know why we're running these special schools. Because we actually, a school is a preparation for the 40, 50 years of adult life. And this path should actually be done at the school level and help our people with disabilities to decide how they want to live. So what is their dream? And where are they with it? And so, what is it that they need to put in place to actually work towards that dream? So, this path actually takes you along this line. So, where are you now? What is it, the support you want to enroll to get further? Before you do that, you first actually decide what is it I want to achieve in the next 6 months, what do I want to achieve in the next 1 year, and how do I go further? So Path actually is helping many of our young people who are moving out of schools and colleges to really think back, see what are their strengths and what are the first steps they need to take to move forward and really get on with what we call independent living. Yeah, okay. So just a few photos for you of our pillars in action: the workforce, reasonable accommodation, maintenance therapy. And then we have the disability legislative unit where we are looking at, every parent wants to make a trust. But we're looking at support circle. We're looking at trust for the 11 domains of life through a support circle. The biggest barrier really is participation of people with disabilities who have not been able, who are just stuck at home and who don't have access to making friends and relationships and don't have the kind of support circles we have. So the Disability Law Unit actually helps to create support circles. And this is just a quick look at the TARA program, which we have. And the TARA's, uh, uh, actually, the TARA team now only will respond to any calls from people who want any kind of accessible solution in their homes or their workplaces. We do create awareness, like workshops for architects and things like that. And we also want to do, of course, as much advocacy as possible. And so this is just if you come to the Museum of Possibilities, you can see accessible home, making how is a kitchen accessible, how is a bedroom, bathroom, what are the different assistive devices available to make the home accessible. And like counters for cooking, for getting people to where do you put the tap, how do you what kind of solutions you find depending on what the individual's needs are at home. This is the get going accessible transport that we are using. And the Museum of Possibilities is our latest flagship project. Some of you have visited it. I would like urge all of you to come and see it because we are trying to create a community space really, which the Museum of Possibilities does not is not something where it's not by disability, but we have solutions for living, working, and playing, and trying to create a community space where people with disabilities, researchers, innovators, and everybody and their families get together so that we can find more and more solutions for people to use and live independently in the community. And we would, of course, this is an evolving kind of a project where we are hoping, I can't, we are hoping that we can have a lot of friends of the museum. We would like you all to join on the thing to become a friend of the museum. Also, we are hoping that we get more and more suggestions and more support so that it doesn't remain at what we've done now, but it can evolve as an evolving space, a hub for all kinds of assistive technology and solutions. Thank you very much.